Hello everyone. So today I'm going to be presenting about congenital adrenal hyperplasia, also known as CAH. So what is CAH? It's a genetic disorder affecting adrenal hormone production. Congenital means that it is present from birth due to the genetic component. Adrenal refers to the glands. The adrenal glands are located above both kidneys, and hyperplasia means that there is a growth in the amount of tissues, so the adrenal glands are just enlarged as compared to normal. Now, the symptoms for CAH are different in both females and males. In females, it is more visible at birth, and this is due to ambiguous genitalia present. This means that their internal anatomy is intact, so the female will still have the uterus, her ovaries, her fallopian tubes, except her external genitalia will be ambiguous, and it will vary from person to person. Some people may have testes present, a smaller penis present, an enlarged clitoris, a fused labia. It just depends person to person. And this happens due to excess androgen exposure during prenatal development. If you don't know, androgen is a male sex hormone. So when this is introduced to the female body in excess, this is what causes the ambiguous male genitalia, which is mainly on the external side. This can also cause secondary characteristics, again, due to the excess of androgen exposure. This can cause facial hair for the female, maybe a deeper voice, early puberty, a shorter height. For some females, it can also cause infertility, so they're not able to get pregnant, an absence of periods, or even an irregular period cycle. Another main symptom of CAH that is on the more severe side is called a salt wasting crisis. So when the body has little aldosterone production, it is no longer able to retain sodium, so it starts losing salt through the urine. When the body quickly loses this much salt, it dehydrates, and this causes a low blood pressure, low blood glucose, vomiting, diarrhea. It can even go into shock, and it can be very deadly. In males, it is not very visible that they have CAH, especially at birth. They will experience this salt wasting crisis. If they have the more severe form of CAH, it will occur in the first few weeks of life, and they do not have any genital ambiguity, again, because of that excess of androgen production. Males already have androgen, and it is responsible for their reproductive development, so they have no change in their genitalia structure. Their internal-external anatomy is maintained. There is no changes during prenatal development or at birth. They may have an enlarged penis, but their testes are normal. Tumors may be possible on their testes. And some secondary characteristics that they do experience are early puberty, rapid growth, maybe a shortened height in adulthood due to growth plates closing early. And these are all milder cases of CAH. Now, CAH occurs because of a mutation in the CYP21A2 gene. This gene is located on chromosome 6, and it encodes for the 21-hydroxylase enzyme. Now, the 21-hydroxylase enzyme is responsible for producing adrenal hormones like cortisol and aldosterone. And when this mutation occurs, it may be a point mutation, a deletion, a frame shift. It could be a variety of mutations that occur, and they occur during the crossover event or recombination of chromosome 6 during fertilization. And when this mutation occurs, the 21-hydroxylase enzyme is no longer functional and it becomes defective. Again, this varies from person to person, so the way that the mutation occurs and how the recombination happened between both chromosomes can affect how active the enzyme is after the mutation. So if the enzyme is 20 to 50% active after the mutation, that means this is a more mild form, or the non-classic form of CAH. If it is 1 to 5% active after the mutation, this is the simple virilizing form, which is also what causes the ambiguous genitalia in females. And then if you're in the more severe classic CAH, that is where you have less than 1% activity of the 21-hydroxylase enzyme. So to talk about the role of the CYP21A2 gene in normal development, like I had mentioned earlier, this gene is responsible for the production of cortisol and aldosterone. Cortisol, also known as the stress hormone in our body, is part of a feedback loop with the hypothalamus and pituitary. It regulates ACTH release from the pituitary, And in normal development, this is a negative feedback loop. So the cortisol is produced and then it goes up to the hypothalamus, which releases CRH hormone, which goes to the pituitary, which releases ACTH hormone. And so this gene is mainly responsible for hormonal homeostasis, or maintaining balance in feedback loops and throughout the body, as well as normal fetal development. But when this gene is mutated, it can cause a variety of symptoms. So when this gene has a mutation in it, the 21-hydroxylase enzyme loses its function and activity, and due to this, cortisol and aldosterone production is prevented or lost. A low cortisol will lose that negative feedback loop, and in turn, this will increase your CRH and then ACTH productions. A higher ACTH production is what causes an excess of androgen production. And as we had talked about before, an excess of androgen production is what causes the ambiguous genitalia in females, genetic females. And also that aldosterone production that is lowered due to the enzyme activity being deactivated is what leads to the salt wasting crisis that we had talked about before. So as you can see, everything is connected. It is all a loop that all occurs because of this gene mutation. If you look below, there's a diagram and it shows the 3 different types of hormones: cortisol, microcorticoids, which is also your aldosterone, and then your androgens. Your cortisol and aldosterone production is lowered, and that is what leads to ACTH being increased and also the salt wasting. And then androgens being increased is what causes the ambiguous genitalia. The diagram on the right again shows what we have just talked about. It is a difference between a normal person and then a patient with CAH and what you would normally see in them. As you can see, the normal feedback loops are all working in balance and homeostasis, whereas in CAH, ACTH is increased, CRH is increased, and androgen production is increased, and that all happens because of cortisol being decreased, which is all because of the mutation and enzyme activity being decreased. On the left, you can see another diagram that shows some chronic conditions that may occur because of androgen being in excess and aldosterone being decreased, such as hypertension, insulin resistance, which also causes diabetes, and obesity, and also just very many different types of symptoms. A cure experiment that was done in Sweden in the Karolinska Institute, it was done in the late 1980s, about early 1990s. It was published in 1992 in the Molecular Endocrinology Journal. And so they did this experiment in transgenic mice. So they found a gene that is quite similar to the human gene. It's called the CYP21A1 instead of A2. They targeted it in embryonic stem cells, and they were able to cause a mutation in the gene, which again disrupts enzyme activity. And the mice later showed adrenal hyperplasia, which is the enlarged gland, elevated androgen levels, high ACTH levels, and a disrupted adrenal pituitary feedback loop. Now, if you see all of these symptoms mimic the symptoms of human CAH, this experiment was very important because it was one of the first genetically engineered animal models of CAH. So this is the first time that they were able to replicate CAH symptoms in a live organism. It confirmed the link between 21-hydroxylase deficiency and CAH symptoms. So now they know that this enzyme is specifically responsible for this disorder. And they also know that this enzyme is important for adrenal hormone production as well. Some further questions that I have are, how do different types of CYP21A2 mutations influence severity and symptoms? Like, is there one type of mutation that causes a more severe form of CAH? Like a frame shift mutation might cause a salt wasting symptom, whereas only a deletion may cause the less mild or less classic form of CAH. So if we could do experiments and be able to see if a specific mutation is responsible for a specific form and the activity of enzyme and also the symptoms present. And then if there are any genetic and environmental factors that we can modify to prevent this disease, and also if there are any environmental factors that contribute to causing this disease. We do know that it is already genetic, and this happens before birth in prenatal development, but if there are any environmental factors that may contribute to this disease happening, and if there are any genetic or environmental factors that we can modify to prevent this disease. On the right, there is a diagram that shows a more visualization of CAH, and you can see that enlarged tumor, how the adrenal gland has just completely enlarged and almost tripled in size, and how androgens are increased and your aldosterone is decreased, and how the kidney is just trying to bear that weight of the adrenal gland, and how it causes havoc throughout the entire body with just this one little mutation. Some current treatments that are already available for CAH are hormone replacements through mineralocorticoids or your glucocorticoids, and they also have sex hormone therapy, so that's giving estrogen through like birth control pills. Some salt supplements can also be given to replace that sodium that people are losing in their body, so that could be like giving electrolytes. And then for females who have that ambiguous genitalia, they can go through surgical correction. Some potential future treatment options could be gene therapy targeting adrenal cells, also exposing androgen, like reducing androgen exposure through prenatal treatment. If both parents are carriers and their female baby has a chance of getting CAH, there is possibly a way to reduce the androgens that are exposed to the baby in prenatal development and prevent that ambiguous genitalia from happening. And also possibly replacing enzyme, so an enzyme replacement therapy specifically for adrenal hormones. So not just replacing hormones in the body, but also replacing that 21-hydroxylase enzyme could be a possibility for treatment. I really hope you enjoyed my presentation. Thank you so much.